Good afternoon one and all. So, here we are to discuss about types of classification systems and different types of species concepts. So, in this chapter diversity of life forms living world, so far we have discussed completely about characteristic and defining features of the living, and then we have also highlighted all the classification types, taxonomy, biosystematics, 7 obligate taxonomic categories or ranks, and then we have analyzed them completely with all the examples recorded for all the taxonomic categories. Today we are going to end this chapter by discussing completely about classification systems and then biological species concepts, different species concepts that are given. So, the very first concept, that is types of classification systems. We have different types of classification systems, of which first is artificial system of classification, which is also called as sexual system of classification. This is also called as sexual system of classification. So, in this mode of classification, the plants are classified based on one or few morphological characteristics. In such systems, evolutionary relationships between organisms are not considered. Only gross morphological features and few structures like andrecium structures are highlighted or considered in classifying the groups. It was based on only vegetative characters. Some systems were based on andrecium structures which are given by Linnaeus. Okay. So, who are the proponents of this artificial system of classification? The proponents of this artificial system of classification are Aristotle and Linnaeus. Okay. Wherein Aristotle has classified based on only few vegetative characteristics, Linnaeus has considered the andrecium structure. That is why this is also called as sexual system of classification. The major drawback for the artificial system of classification is they gave equal importance to vegetative and sexual characters. This is the major drawback of artificial system of classification, okay, as vegetative characteristics keep on changing based on the organism's habitat, okay. So, that cannot be considered as the major criteria for classification. So, yes ma'am, we have started with classification systems. The very first is artificial system of classification, which is also called as sexual system of classification. Proponents of this system of classification are Aristotle and Linnaeus. Okay. So, in this system of classification, the importance is given only to gross morphological characteristics. No evolutionary history is considered for the organisms to classify. So, primarily Aristotle gave the importance only to the vegetative characters, whereas Linnaeus has considered the andrecium structure. That is why it is also named as sexual system of classification. As vegetative structures gave the more priority, vegetative structures keep on changing with the habitat they adapt to. So, that cannot be the major criteria. Giving equal weightage for vegetative and sexual characters is the major drawback for this artificial system of classification. Second, if we have to go through natural system of classification. In natural system of classification, both external characters and internal characters are given equal priority to classify the organisms. Organisms are classified based on both external as well as internal features. Internal features include ultrastructure, anatomy, embryology and phytochemistry. First, in ultrastructure, what are we observing? They have minute structures present within the cell, be it cellular constituents or cellular organelles. It requires a highly magnified microscope to view these structures, to view the ultrastructures and consider them. Next, anatomy, if we have to look into anatomy of different plants, we have different anatomical structures for dicot, monocot, root, stem, leaf. So, that anatomical structures are considered. Next is embryology. The study is associated with embryo development called as embryology. All the embryological changes that are seen during the developmental processes are also considered. Next is phytochemistry. Phytochemistry means the secondary metabolites and the cellular constituents inside each plant are also considered to analyze the chemicals obtained from the cells. So, considering all this, the classification is made, and the proponents of natural system of classification include Bentham and Hooker system of classification and Engler-Prantl system of classification. Engler-Prantl system of classification. So, these two are the proponents of natural system of classification, which is based on the internal features. And then third mode of classification system is phylogenetic system of classification. In phylogenetic system of classification, the name itself is specifying the major importance is given to the evolutionary relationships or the evolutionary history of the organism. According to the theory of Charles Darwin, organisms experience a gradual change in their characteristics over successive generations. Okay. So, over successive generations, gradual change in the organism is observed. It is also to be noted that existing species originate from ancestors that look quite different from them. So, now the existing species are quite different from the ancestors. The organisms classified based on the evolutionary relationships between them. So, the proponents of this type of classification include Hutchinson, Tucktagen, Cronquist. These are the scientists. Hutchinson, Tucktagen, Cronquist. These are the proponents of scientists who gave us the phylogenetic system of classification. So, here mainly based on the phylogenetic system of classification, we have different types of taxonomies that are developed. Taxonomies based on the fossil records, based on the numerical taxonomy, which is also called as phonetics, cytotaxonomy and chemotaxonomy. Fossil records, the fossils help us understanding the characteristics of the ancestors of the organisms. So, this based on the fossil records only, if we are classifying the organisms, that their fossil records come into the picture. Second is numerical taxonomy. Here the major benefit of numerical taxonomy is hundreds of characters are considered at a time by assigning plus, minus, zero symbols and by using the systems database. So, classification of organism based on the numerical algorithm, the character of the organism under the study is given like with numbers and codes using several mathematical tools. The taxonomy is performed. Okay. So, this is numerical taxonomy. This is also called as phonetics. Next is cytotaxonomy. This involves classification of organism based on chromosome number, structure and behavior, not on chromosome shape. Okay. So, if at all 4 options are given, and what are you considering for cytotaxonomy, if that question is asked, we have to eliminate the chromosome shape. The 3 only considered what are the chromosome number, chromosome structure and behavior of the chromosome. And then is chemotaxonomy. Classification of plants based on the chemicals is chemotaxonomy. Classification is based on chemicals. They are composed of either cellular constituents, phytoconstituents, highlighting them is chemotaxonomy. So, these are different systems of taxonomy which are evolved from phylogenetic system of classification. And then now the concept comes with species concept. Okay. A species is the basic unit of life in the biological classification, we all know that. It refers to a group of interbreeding organisms that produce fertile offspring according to biological concept of species, and they share common characteristics. Need for species concepts. Why we need different species concepts? To identify and classify them more accurately, to understand biodiversity, evolution and speciation. Okay, and to differentiate between closely related organisms. Okay, this form the basic needs for species concept. And then here. Major species concepts. First is typological species concept, which is also called as morphological species concepts. This morphological species concept is proposed by Aristotle and Plato, okay, based on the observable traits of organisms, based on the observable traits or morphology. If the species are defined, that is comes under which concept? Typological or morphological species concept. The major limitations of this morphological species concept is this ignores genetic variation because only morphological characters are highlighted. Next, this fails to recognize a cryptic species, okay, morphologically identical. What are cryptic species? Which are morphologically identical but genetically distinct, okay. These two are the major drawbacks or limitations of morphological concept of species, right ma'am. Next, biological concept of species, which is widely accepted, okay. So, this is proposed by Ernst Mayr. Year is also important for us, in 1942. So, this defines species as group of interbreeding natural populations that are reproductively isolated from other such groups, means group of organisms which are reproductively active, they are isolated from another reproductively active species, okay. So, this reproductive isolation concept is developed by Ernst Mayr only. And then key features, they focus on the reproductive isolation, they emphasize on gene flow within the species, okay, because it is based on the interbreeding natural populations. This emphasis on gene flow within the species, okay. Next, the major limitation for this biological concept of species is this is not applicable for asexual organisms, for fossils, or for organisms with unknown breeding behavior, okay. As it is completely relying on sexual reproduction, these are the drawbacks for that, okay. Next, phylogenetic system of classification. We have learnt it already, but then once let us look into, based on the evolutionary history and common ancestry, okay. Biological species concept is based on evolutionary history and common ancestry. A species is smallest diagonizable monophyletic group. So, when we have to consider the common ancestry, and from that if we can consider these are the offsprings, and from this again to, okay. So, this is the common ancestry for these two descendants. This we can consider as one monophyletic group, okay. So, here according to phylogenetic species concept, species can be defined as what? Smallest diagonizable monophyletic group. So, now according to this concept, these three are considered as one species, these three are considered as one species, like that, monophyletic group. And then what are the strengths of this phylogenetic species concept? This is applicable both to the sexual and asexual species. Unlike the biological concept of species, this is applicable to both sexual and asexual species. This detects cryptic species, means what are cryptic species? Which are morphologically identical but they have genetic variation. This concept can identify such a species also. And the major limitation for the phylogenetic species concept is they may result in oversplitting of species, okay. They may result in oversplitting of species, too many small groups, okay. And then ecological species concept. This is proposed by Van Vellen, okay. Ecological species concept is proposed by Van Vellen, where a species is a group of organisms adapted to a particular ecological niche. According to this concept, what are species? Species are nothing but group of organisms which are adapted to a particular habitat. Another group of organisms adapted to a particular habitat. So, all that population, they are considering it as one species only. Focuses on the role of ecosystem, that is niche, okay. Major strength of this ecological species concept is useful for identifying species in the ecological and evolutionary studies. The major limitation is this is difficult to define and measure a niche exactly. Okay, what is the exact niche of the species is unidentified, because all the group of species, group of organisms will be at one location, right. To identify the location or the niche of each and every organism is difficult. So, that is the limitation for this concept. Next, evolutionary species concept. This is given by Simpson and Welly. For each species concept or classification system, we have to give an additional interest on the proponents. Proponents who have given us that, and what are the major points they are conveying, what is the limitation of that, enough. So, here this is defined by Simpson and Welly. A species is a lineage evolving separately from others with its own evolutionary tendencies. So, according to them, what is species? In their own lineage they are evolving evolutionarily. So, that evolutionary tendencies are different in different species. Based on that they have classified. This emphasizes long term lineage independence, okay, and the major advantage is this is applicable to fossils and asexual organisms. Limitation: difficult to apply in practical identification. We cannot apply that evolutionary lineage of each species when we are practically identifying the organisms, because the features which we are identifying in that particular organism may have different ancestors, okay. So, that is the major limitation. And then genetic species concept, based on the genetic similarity and genetic distinctness, or you can say genetic similarities and differences simply, okay. Genetic species concept is mainly based on genetic similarity and differences. This uses genetic markers like DNA barcoding. This is able to identify cryptic species, applicable for all the cryptic species and microorganisms, okay. Next, what is the importance of all these species concepts? This laid a foundation for taxonomy and classification, and then this is essential for biodiversity conservation and environmental policies, and then this helps in studying evolution, speciation and ecosystem dynamics. These are the major things why different species concepts are being studied, okay. The major advantages are this in learning different species concepts. So, with this we have finished out all the concepts which are in our chapter 2, okay. What all we have completed? Characteristic and defining features of the living beings. Second is we have focused on the diversity of life forms, classification, taxonomy, classical taxonomy, modern taxonomy. Then we have learned taxonomic categories, 7 obligate categories, each category it features and examples. And now today we have completed the classification types, and we have completed biological concepts of species also. Complete different types of species concepts are done, okay. So, now we will be exercising 30 questions on the concepts we have covered from this chapter. Let us get started. Which of the following is not a defining property of living, okay. Explanation for each and every question is important for us. With that explanation only we will recall the concept. Which is not defining property? Metabolism is the defining property, consciousness is the defining property, cellular organization is the defining property. Growth is the only non-defining property because two types of growth are observed, extrinsic growth and intrinsic growth. Extrinsic growth is reversible in non-living things, intrinsic is irreversible permanent increase which is observed only in the living beings. That is why it is not a defining feature. Second, if you see, which characteristic differentiates living organisms from non-living matter? Movement, non-living things also will move, not complexity, it is not growth, okay. Self-replication is the character which can differentiate between living organisms and non-living things. Next, which of the following is considered both a defining and unique feature of all living organisms? Of course, it is response to external stimuli, which is also called as consciousness, which is also called as irritability, and which is also called as sensitivity, okay. Any of the 4 terms is correct over here. Next, which of the following features is found in both the living and non-living matter? Okay, found in both living and non-living matter is increase in the mass of growth, that is growth by accumulation. Okay, next, which among the following properties of living beings is universally present in all the life forms? Reproduction, consciousness, metabolism and locomotion. Which is universally present in all the life forms they are saying. Here I can tell both metabolism and consciousness, both are correct only over here, because metabolism and consciousness are observed in all the living beings. 2 options goes correct here. Next, identify the incorrect statement regarding characteristics of living organism. So here characteristics of living organisms, which is incorrect he is asking. Reproduction is not essential for the survival of an individual. Yes, that is true. Reproduction is not a survival feature. Metabolism is the defining feature of all living organisms. True. All living organisms must reproduce sexually. No. Asexual organisms are there, vegetative propagation is there. So, C will be the incorrect statement. Whenever statement based question is asked for us, first we have to look into the question whether he is asking us the correct statement or incorrect statement. Then only we have to go on reading the options. Else we will end up identifying either correct when the incorrect is asked, or we will end up either identifying the incorrect when correct statement is asked. Okay. So, first in question only you highlight that and then go for reading options. Okay, ma'am. Next, the term taxonomy was first coined by A.P.D. Candolle. Okay, and who is the father of taxonomy? Linnaeus. Theophrastus, father of botany. Okay. Next, which of the following is correct sequence in the taxonomic hierarchy from top to bottom they are asking. So, when we look at here, of course kingdom comes to our mind. After kingdom it will definitely not be the genus. Okay. If we have to consider order, class is prior to order, so we can eliminate this also. And then if you see this phylum, after phylum it is class, and then order, family, genus, species. Option B will be the right answer. Okay. Next. Yes. The system of classification which uses evolutionary relationships are shared derived characters are called as what? Natural system of classification, we are looking into morphological and anatomical features. Artificial means only morphological and androecium structure. Phylogenetic means evolutionary systems we are looking into, but shared derived characters are also considered in cladistic system, where we have learnt just now about monophyletic group, right, wherein 3 ancestor and its descendants is one monophyletic group. Such comparison is seen in the cladistic system of classification. So, the option is D. 10th question, which of the following pairs is mismatched? Bentham and Hooker system of classification is natural. Aristotle gave artificial system of classification. Linnaeus binomial nomenclature. Engler-Prantl does not give numerical taxonomy. Engler-Prantl gave us natural system of classification. Bentham-Hooker, Engler-Prantl gave us natural system of classification. And then, in the scientific name Solanum tuberosum, what does the tuberosum represent? Specific epithet. Solanum is generic name. Binomial nomenclature was introduced by, it is introduced by Carl Linnaeus. If Gaspard Bovin is given in the options, we have to go with Gaspard Bovin only, because Gaspard Bovin introduced binomial nomenclature, it is popularized by Carolus Linnaeus. If his name is not given, we can go with Carolus Linnaeus. Yes, this question. ICBN governs the nomenclature of plants only. International Code of Botanical Nomenclature identifies only plants. Which of the following species belongs to the family Solanaceae as per the given chart? That is Solanum tuberosum. If you see Mangifera indica, Alum cepa, Solanum tuberosum, Triticum aestivum. but he asked us the family, right? Solanaceae family, Solanum tuberosum. This belongs to Poaceae family. Okay, these two belongs to different family. So only Solanum tuberosum belongs to Solanaceae. And then identify the correct hierarchical order for Mangifera indica as per the plant chart. Okay, dicots, poales, Poaceae and Mangifera. Mangifera doesn't belong to Poaceae, so eliminate that. Dicots, sapindales is the order, Anacardiaceae family belongs Mangifera, correct? Monocot, sapindales doesn't belongs to monocots. Dicots, polymonials doesn't have Anacardiaceae. They have Convolvulaceae and Solanaceae. Okay. So here the right answer will be option B. Okay. All the questions are covered based on that charts I have given. Okay. For Plantae kingdom and Animalia I have given 2 charts, right? All are covered from that only. The genus Canis belongs to which family and order as per the second chart? Canidae, carnivora order. Felidae, carnivora. Canidae doesn't belong to primata. Hominidae, it belongs to primata. So which option is correct? The genus Canis belongs to which family? Canis is asked, right? So we have to go with Canidae, carnivora. If in the question Felis is asked, Felis belongs to which family? Felidae and order carnivora. Okay. Next. Which of the following is a limitation for biological concept of species? Simple. This is not applicable to asexual organisms, asexual reproducing organisms. So here the option is B. Okay. Biological concept of species, major limitation is not applicable to asexual organisms. Which is credited with the formalization of biological concept of species? Who is credited with that? Ernst Mayr. He discovered that concept. Next, the phylogenetic system species concept focuses on evolutionary history of the organisms. Which of the following statements is true regarding morphological species concept? It is based solely on the reproductive isolation? No, because morphological concept of species is asked. It accounts cryptic species? No, we cannot identify cryptic species because genetic variation is not told over here. It is applicable to fossils? No. It is widely accepted in microbial fossils? No. It is applicable to fossils because morphological traits are different in different fossils. So here the option is C. Recognition species concept defines species based on unique reproductive behaviors and mating systems. This is not highlighted in the species concept. I will give you 2 tables giving the complete characteristics of proponents, feature, examples and limitations. Okay. I will generate 2 such tables and give you. There I will include recognition species concept as well. Next question, cytotaxonomy involves classification based on what? Cytotaxonomy, chromosomal behavior, chromosomal structure and chromosome number. Okay. So it is number, structure, behavior, not chromosomal shape. Okay. Then chemotaxonomy classifies plants based on just chemical and cellular constituents present in the cell. Which of the following correctly matches the taxonomy type with the description? Okay. Chemotaxonomy is based on chromosomal behavior? No. Cytotaxonomy is based on that. Fossil record uses species only? No. Numerical taxonomy is based on statistical or mathematical codes? Yes. Cytotaxonomy is based on floral morphology? No. Cytotaxonomy is based on chromosome, number, structure, behavior. So here the right answer is option C. And then identify the correct pair of organisms that belong to division angiospermae. Okay. So which belongs to angiosperm? Man and housefly? No. No housefly. So here the right answer will be mango and wheat. Mango under dicots class, wheat under monocot class. Which of the following organisms is classified under the order Poales? Poales means those which belongs to Poaceae. Which example? Triticum, aestivum. Musca domestica belongs to Muscidae. Homo sapiens, Hominidae. Mangifera indica, Anacardiaceae family. what is the correct hierarchy of Mangifera indica starting from the class as per the table. So, we have to start from the class dicotyledons. Sapindales is the order, Anacardiaceae and Mangifera. This is correct only. Where in these three it is incorrect also we will identify. Monocotyledons, Poales is correct, Anacardiaceae not, it is Poaceae. Okay. Next, dicots, Poales will not come under dicots, they come under monocots. Dicots, Sapindales, Muscidae belongs to animal class, not plants. So, here the right answer is A. Clear? Next. Which of the following scientists proposed the natural system of classification based on internal structures? Of course, it is undoubtedly George Bentham, Joseph Darton Hooker, Engler Prandtl system of classification. So, it is option B. Carolus Linnaeus, it is artificial. Okay. Aristotle and Theophrastus, it is artificial only, artificial system of classification. Next, the term systematics was first used in biological context by which scientist? First time systematics term is used. Julius Huxley. Okay, he is the scientist who used the term systematics for the first time. Next, this last question, which of the following best differentiates modern systematics from classical taxonomy? Emphasis on naming organisms only, focuses on evolutionary relationships. Classical taxonomy focuses on evolutionary relationships. Okay. And this is based on morphological traits, avoids molecular analysis. So, the best differentiation between modern and classical taxonomy is what? Evolutionary relationships, where in classical taxonomy only morphological attributes are highlighted, where in modern taxonomy we are also considering the evolutionary relationships. Okay. So, with this we have completed the second chapter. Only that invertebrates to chordates topic is left, that sir will be dealing. Okay. From tomorrow we will be starting the chapter 3, cell I will be starting. Okay. Thank you. I have made a group, ma'am. Today I will be posting the syllabus PDF